mean, we've been touching on the issue, but, a century ago or more, the top black leaders in the country were critical in different ways, but critical of immigration, whether it was Booker T. Washington or Du Bois, who were pretty much diametrically opposed in every way you could imagine. Du Bois ended up as a communist, and Booker T. Washington was a self-help guy who, palled around with Teddy Roosevelt, and then Marcus Garvey, obviously. But they all agreed that large-scale immigration, and back then it was mainly legal, but it was still large-scale immigration was a problem.
They believed their eyes.
Right, exactly. It was sort of, what is it? It's a struggle to see what's in front of your nose or something like that. But there isn't really much of anything like that today, and it's not just among Democratic leaders. Obviously, there are some black Republicans who are critical of immigration, but even there really isn't the same level. In other words, there's nobody who let's just, and I'm not picking on him, but Tim Scott's a pretty high profile, is talked about as potentially vice presidential candidate. Maybe he says something about, well, we need more border control or something, but that's just an easy thing for politicians to say. Why aren't there more black leaders, prominent people, no insult to anybody here, but I'm talking about the top people in the country who are willing to talk about immigration? The issue is just sitting there on the ground waiting for somebody to pick it up.
Well, the establishment, can I answer?
Let's go ahead, Donna, and then you.
I'll say this. Unfortunately, most of the black political leaders that have a platform are actually politicians. Now, I'm from a nonprofit. We don't endorse anyone, but I think that, they go along with whatever the prevailing issue that will keep them in their positions. They don't have boots on the ground in the communities hearing like we do from the people that think this is important. The other thing is you'll see prominent community leaders on the local level talking about the destruction of illegal immigrants. What's problematic is they're not given a platform. When you have a mainstream media whose primary concern is making sure narratives are consistent with whatever the agenda is, they're not going to give you that platform. In fact, if you notice, and I don't endorse any candidate one way or the other, if you notice Eric Adams, all of a sudden he's under investigation, and many of the members of his team, because he's gotten out of step with what the narrative needs to be. So, but there are people who want to speak up. I have many of them. We just have to have people who are brave enough to be able to allow their voices to be heard. And so that is the biggest issue. It's the platform, not the people in the community who are saying this, because you go to New York, in the Bronx, you go to New York City, you go to Chicago, you can go to Atlanta. I can tell you, you can go to Detroit, and those people are saying the same thing. We want jobs. We can't get those jobs because we have meat packing plants that will only hire illegal immigrants.
Right. The thing is,